Today, our topic is style and register, as we know that this is one of the topics from our course contents. But as far as the questions of the past papers concerned, so there is a question that can relate with this topic, that is the difference between stylistic features of formal and informal language. Moreover, you can be given a short question or long question on style and register, write a note on style or differentiate between style and register. So this topic or the questions on this topic can be asked in many different ways that I just told you. So we will begin with the definitions of both the ideas. So what is style? A style is not a social original dialect, unlike registers. As we know of registers that these are the social original, or can say the language variation according to one's profession, one's expertise, like jargon, is called register. But style is not a social original dialect, but a variety of language which is used for a specific purpose. Styles can be shifted according to the formality and informality of the situation, or of the addressee, or the relationship between the addresser and the addressee. So style shifts can be because of formality or informality. So when you are going to define stylistic features of formal and informal language, so this has more to do with style, because formality, like formal situations and informal situations, according to such situations, we can shift or we can make change in the style of we talk or we speak. So styles are often analyzed along a scale of formality, as in the examples from social dialect research. So to understand formality, it is important to know about the levels of formality. Oratory styles or oratorical styles are used in public speaking before a large audience. Wording is carefully planned in advance, and intonation is somewhat exaggerated, and numerous rhetoric devices are appropriate. And normally, public speaker who is making a speech adapt oratorical style. So that is the heightened level of formality. Secondly, a deliberative style is also used in addressing audiences, but the audiences are too large to permit effective interchange between speaker and hearer. Although the forms are normally not as polished as those in oratorical style, normally university classroom lecture, in which we have more than one addresses. So formality is there, but that formality is not of oratorical style. That is of deliberative style, in which we can choose the level of formality according to the students. Then consultative style is typically a dialogue between people through formal enough. It is formal, yes, it is a dialogue, but it is formal enough that words are chosen with some care. Like business transactions, doctor-patient conversation, and they likely are usually consultative in nature, in which both parties are consulting. So they will choose the formality level according to the addressee. So style has more to do with formal and informal situations. Then casual conversations are between friends or colleagues, or sometimes member of a family. In this context, words need not be guarded and social barriers are moderately low. So they are somehow casual, in which style is little relaxed. Then an intimate style is one characterized by complete absence of social inhibitions, in which we don't really care about any rules or any social status or any formality. Like we talk with our family, our loved ones, with our friends, where the inner self is revealed is usually in an intimate style. So when you are going to explain the formal and informal features of language, so you are going to explain different styles. So styles are related to formality and informality. So the question of your paper of 2022, in which they have asked you about the define different stylistic features of formal and informal language. In that portion, you can write about styles and levels of formalities. You can add more to this topic. Now let's see how register is different from styles. Registers are commonly identified by certain phonological variants. There are different things that can be different. Like in phonology, they may differ in vocabulary, in idioms, use of different idioms and other expressions that are associated with different occupational or socio-economic groups. Such variations of styles or such variations of language, they are more prevalent in specific occupations, specific professions, which are related to one's business, one's job, one's work for living, and also with his socio-economical class. For example, if we see different groups, like if there is a journalist group or baby dog, legisly, the language of auctioneers, race scholars, sports commentators, the language of airline pilots, the criminals, financiers, politicians, and the language of courtroom and classroom. You have a better idea how the language of these professions is different. So the difference is based on their occupation. So this variation is called register. So in strict sense, by definition, style is the level of formality in the way of speaking. There are more formal and less formal styles of every variety. If we explain register, so we will explain in a way of speaking a language which is associated with a particular occupational or activity group. For example, the field of law and justice. There is a terminological distinction between register and style. Both are associated with a specific speech situation. But whereas register often refers to specific vocabulary chosen and expected in connection with a particular speech situation, style includes grammatical variation. In communication and composition, context is very important. And what is context? It refers to the words and sentences that surround any part of discourse that helps to determine its meaning, sometimes called linguistic context. In a broader sense, context may refer to any aspect of an occasion in which speech act takes place. It may be the occasion of speech act, it may be the social setting, or the status of both the speaker and the person who is addressed. This is called social context. When we are dealing style, so the context will be explained as the setting of the speech act where it takes place, and occasion and social setting and status of both the parties, the speaker and the addressee. We have more details on different stylistic features of formal and informal language. 3 different requests for information. You have 3 examples of request. If a friend is requesting from a friend about some information, so how he will speak? He will say, he might say, "Where were you last night? I rang to see if you wanted to come to the movies." This is how a friend may speak. But in a quote from a lawyer, how a lawyer may ask for information: "Could you tell the court where you were on the night of Friday, the 17th of March?" So in this discourse, you can see there is a lot of numerical and exact and concrete request of information. So third example is from a teacher, a request from a teacher for information to his pupil in school on the day after Halloween. So the teacher says, "I know some of you went trick-or-treating last night, so I thought we might talk a bit today about how you got on. Did you go out last night, Jimmy?" So there is a level of informality here. You can trace the level of informality in 3 of these examples. So you can quote these examples. So the addressees and the context affect our choice of code or variety whether language, dialect, or style. Features in which people's speech indexes their group memberships are stylistic features. What are stylistic features? How you define them? Features in which people's speech indexes their group membership, in which they show their membership to a specific group, is called their stylistic feature, or that group's stylistic features. How an addressee or how a person who is spoken to can influence on style. Example: excuse me, could I have a look at your photos too, Mrs. Hall? Come on, Tony, give a look, give a look. First utterance was addressed by a teenager boy to his friend's mother, and the second utterance was addressed to his friend. So there are two ways. A child is asking his friend's mother for pictures, and in another example he's asking his friends. So the better you know someone, the more casual and relaxed speech style you will use to them. What factors affect the degree of social distance and solidarity? What are the factors which may compel you to keep that distance through speech or to get closer to the person in speech? Those factors who may affect these things are age, gender, social roles, whether people work together or are part, status, and so on. Age of addressee is very, very important. When you are speaking to somebody, so you will see his age. Or even somebody is speaking to the children, he will use how some features in speaking and writing to children, they will use short and grammatically simple structures, simple vocabulary, using we rather than you, then using sing-song intonation with characterized baby talk. So this is how we talk to the children. When people talk to adults, so they use complex grammatical structures, low frequency words, and complex expression. But sometimes when speaking to non-natives, patronizing situation with adults, we tend to use children features of speaking and writing. Okay, this example you may just read. Then a social background of addressee, that also matters a lot. When you are speaking to somebody, so you will speak to him or you will alter your speech according to his social status. You will use the words or vocabulary or tone. You will adjust your tone to their level, to their social level, so that you can make them feel more comfortable or more understanding. They have given some examples, especially of two news channels, and they have given you how one channel is more popular in lower end of social class and the other channel is more largely accepted. So you can see how two channels are broadcasting in a different language according to their addresses social background. Accommodation theory is a very important theory. You can be asked some questions on that how we shift our speech styles and why we why we make that shift. So in accommodation theory, or in accommodation, when we are making accommodations to be understood, we normally go either closer to addressee or to make him feel that we are closer to him by just changing our style, making it more similar or familiar to the addressee, or we choose to sound different, or we make our speech different from the addressee so that we maybe sound different and distinct. So when we go beyond or far from our speaking style and we shift to the speaking style of the addressee, so we are converging downwardly. And when the addressee is above our social level and we are going to talk in his manner, so we are converging upwardly. And sometimes both the speakers can mutually converge to be more familiar with each other for communication, for better communication. So divergence means to sound different from the addressee. This is also taken as non-cooperative speech. And speech convergence, in which we choose to be more similar by choosing the style of the addressee rather than your own style, in which you just trying to show that you are more similar to them. These are the details on accommodation theory. So, accommodation theory is based on the social role, status, and background of the addressee. The speaker either chooses to modify her or his speech towards or away from the style of the addressee. This style modification is known as the accommodation theory. It was developed by Howard Giles in 1970s. So it suggests that we adjust our speech to accommodate the person we are addressing. This may result in convergence or divergence. Convergence is each person's speech converges towards the speech of a person they are talking in order to please each other or when they like each other. The process is called speech accommodation. There is an example you can quote. Then I have told you about downward convergence and upward convergence. Downward convergence is when people simplify their vocabulary and grammar. Like when a doctor speaks to his patient, so he will not use medical terminologies, whereas he will speak in a more layman language. So it is downward convergence. Upward convergence, when people converge their status upwards towards the more sophisticated linguistic proficiency of their addressee, who are often of a higher status than them, right? So this is called upward convergence. Divergence is deliberately choosing a language not used by one's addressee, is the clearest example of speech divergence. It is considered an uncooperative speech behavior and tends to happen when a person wants to show his cultural distinctiveness, social status, ethnic identity. People who aspire to a higher social status will diverge upwards from the speech of those from same social class. There is an example, a very good one, when the Arab nations issued oil communique to the world, not in English but in Arabic. They gave their statement in Arabic language. They were making a clear political statement that they no longer wish to be seen as accommodating to Western English speaking powers. If both participants in a conversation converge towards the other, this is called mutual convergence. Then there is a concept of referee design. Speakers may also consciously diverge from their own usual speech style and that of their addressee. Sometimes they converge or differ from their style and also from the listener style, and they adopt the third party for special effect. This has been labeled referee design. The third party is referred to although they are not present. We could describe them as a reference group. Especially when you imitate your teacher to amuse your friends, so you are adopting your teacher's style, and you adopt a prestige accent to impress your boss, which is not yours or not even of your boss. For example, if you are trying to speak in American accent and your boss doesn't have American accent, but you try to impress him, you're engaging in referee design. What is stylization? When someone goes beyond their usual and normal ways of speaking and behaving and engages in high or strong performance of some sort, the term stylization is used. The speech of comedians and singers, like when a New Zealand singer uses a US accent, we can say she is trying to styling her performance. And that stylization is more prevalent in language. So that is all about style and register. You have also learned about accommodation theory. So basic question was that you can prepare on this topic is what is style and what is register, the difference between style and register, what are different features of style or what are different features of register, or you can be asked the stylistic features of formal and informal language. So that's all for today, and you just go through these information and lectures, and you can add more details to them from your previous lectures.